Scorpio, this is your week ahead astrology forecast by Astrology Motivation from Born Without Boundaries. In these weekly videos, I review the major planetary aspects and transits and how they impact your natal sun and what that means for your bottom line. All you need to do or know to enjoy these videos is your birth date. That's it. Everything else I'm going to translate for you. I'm going to start off with the really big stuff, the broad stuff, the global stuff that's happening right now in the cosmos, and then I'm going to whittle that down into Scorpio specific information, and then we'll break things down into the 3 decans of Scorpio so that you know how it's all impacting your natal sun specifically. This is for the week of August 8th through the 14th of 2023. We're going to start off with the big stuff, and there's no major transits that are happening right now, though we can feel Mercury in shadow period as it starts to slow down for its retrograde on August 23rd. Shadow periods are actually worse, I think, than the retrogrades themselves, so you could already start to feel different kinds of communication errors, different kinds of glitches, tech stuff not really working. You can already start to feel those things. On the 9th, the sun is going to conjunct Venus. Venus is already square to Uranus. When the sun conjunct Venus is square to Uranus, this is going to give a broad energy of personal development, in that it's personal rebellion, this sense of I want to be somebody else, I want to do things differently, I don't want to be the expected, I want to explore different aspects of my nature, of my character, and really profess my uniqueness and my individuality. This is going to be something that could really take over right now because the sun is in Leo, it's dominant in Leo, and Venus is very diva-esque in Leo. So this is energies that need a lot of attention. They're very charismatic, they're very optimistic when they get together. Square to Uranus is just going to make them insistent on their own personal uniqueness, independence. So there could be an air of rebellion energy, rebellious energy about us right now, though it will have an optimistic overtone and undertone to it. Because both of these energies are also, I believe Jupiter is squared to the sun and Venus as well, or at least it's squared to the sun. I just have to check that for a second. Yeah, it's square to the sun by the 11th. So by the 11th, which is later on in the week, but by the 11th, once Jupiter squares the sun, there's going to be kind of a kaboom energy, an exacerbation or an exaggeration of this energy. So we can really start to feel a huge push or insistence toward personal independence. So if there is more rebellious energy that's coming, we can start to feel that and start to notate that. You can start to see that people are acting out of the ordinary, and acting more brash, as if they don't care about breaking the rules and breaking the laws. If this is starting to happen more often, I think this energy has a lot to do with it. We have also the sun conjunct Venus is going to be trying to Chiron the whole week. What does that mean? Healing from the past hurts, insistence upon finding peace or finding a reason or a purpose for pain, suffering, sadness, sorrow, tough lessons that we've been through. So all in all, this is stacking up to be a very rebellious and individualistic energy. It could even be when it comes to romance, because the sun conjunct Venus is also very romantic energy, that we also combined with the sun conjunct Venus combined with Jupiter is also very indulgent energy. So it's very optimistic, but it's indulgent. So under this energy, if you do have a proclivity to overindulge in anything, especially the sensual pleasures like food and drink or shopping and sex, all of those things could be exacerbated now, and we could go to extreme or excessive levels. With the sun conjunct Venus trine Chiron, this is a sense of trying to find purpose in the pain, trying to find a reason why, or a movement away from the suffering that we've been through, a way to alleviate our suffering, maybe through overindulgence of some sort. And then we have Mercury conjunct Mars trine Jupiter, which makes our movement and our way of thinking very kind of exaggerated and sort of not superpowered, but larger than life. That wouldn't necessarily concern me. I would think that this was a brilliant time. But the fact that the Mercury conjunct Mars is also in opposition to Neptune does worry me, because that brings delusion and that brings overcompensation for perceived inadequacies or over exaggeration and delusion. And now if we're acting upon that and it's trine to Jupiter, there could be a lot of kind of excess that's going on now. And I just think hold tight to whatever makes you actually happy instead of what gives you pleasure, because the pleasure and indulgences in those things could really, really end up being excessive and hurtful right now. Whereas rooting yourself in happiness could give you a great deal of peace, which is always true, but with these extreme kind of exaggerated, very larger than life energies, it just feels like it's more important this week to focus on the difference between the two. Let's go into Scorpio specific energy. So Scorpio specific energy, I look for two things. I look what's going on in Scorpio, the zodiac sign, and then I look for what's going on with your ruling dignitaries. Well, Scorpio, the zodiac sign, makes it real easy for me because there's nothing actually going on in Scorpio right now. The South Node has moved into Libra, so it's an empty space at this point. But we have Pluto and Mars. These are both your ruling dignitaries. Mars is your traditional ruling dignitary and Pluto is your modern ruler. So let's talk about Mars first. I said in the big stuff, Mars is going to be conjunct Mercury and opposite Neptune and trine to Jupiter. That means that we could be taking action on it. We're more likely toward delusion when there's an opposition to Neptune. Yes, delusion to the point of distraction. Now, if you can find a way to control yourself enough to take all those delusions and turn it into a novel or turn it into a painting or somehow use it creatively, that could really be cathartic for this energy. But it's very, very difficult to move or think right now since Mars is also going to be conjunct Mercury. And it's all trine Jupiter. So there's this exaggeration of delusional thoughts or ideas that can make you act too quickly to overcompensate for inadequacies or like overcorrect. The way that I described it to Libra and Sagittarius, and I think it's a really good description, is this Mars conjunct Mercury opposite Neptune energy is almost like like shadow puppets. If you've ever done shadow puppets, where you see the shadow puppet, right, and it looks really, really big. If you're only looking at the shadow, which is Neptune, it's the illusion, it looks really, really big and it could be really, really fearsome. But it's just this, and it's just pretend, and it's stupid, and it's actually nothing harmful. But that's the problem with Neptune opposite Mars and Mercury. There's this idea of people are losing sight of the fact that it's actually nothing, and they're taking it and they're reacting to this huge big thing, and they could be throwing bombs at the wall to defend themselves from the shadow monster that isn't actually even there. This week could offer, however, an expose of the shadow monsters that aren't even there, but they're trying to sort of insinuate rebellion or try to get people hyped up on and worried and scared to get a reaction. So watch out for these kind of paranoid thinking or paranoid behavior. Try to root yourself as close as you can to intellect and facts and quantifiable stuff, and make sure that your mind doesn't run wild when it comes to what all those facts mean, putting it together, like still let 1 + 1 = 2. Don't let the fear convince you it's 2000 and we've got to act now. That's the kind of energy that I really want you to be aware of this week. And then we have Pluto. So Pluto is at 28 degrees Capricorn, will not move. It's still there. It is still square the nodes. It is sextile to Neptune and trine to Uranus. And on the 8th, today, the moon is going to be conjunct Uranus, which can just sort of volumize and make things a little bit more moody. This trine between Pluto and Uranus, it's long-term, just like the sextile to Neptune. All of this is really changing our intellectual systems. It's churning sort of huge developments or technological, scientific, kind of genius level developments that could really push our society forward, at least technologically. So this would be really interesting to keep watching. This will be happening for years, like over the next 13 years. So it'll be, and since Pluto hasn't really settled in even to Aquarius yet, there is an energy of things will shift over the next couple of years still. I don't think we'll see a lot that's going to happen for the next couple of years. But once Pluto really settles into that Aquarian energy, in about 2 years' time, it'll be finally settled into Aquarius energy and really, really digging in. I think that's when you're going to start to see major shifts, not only in technology, but because Pluto is trying to Uranus, definitely in rebellion as well. So we'll see about that. But but let's get into the decans now. So a decan is a set of 10 degrees. For those of you who are just finding these videos, welcome. Please remember to subscribe to the channel and like the video to share your love for it. And always feel free to comment, if not just to me, to the community at large. The chats are really, really important. So a decan is a group of 10 degrees, and every zodiac sign has a total of 30 degrees. So every zodiac sign has 33 decans. We break things down in astrology to that 10-degree toggle point because that's what really makes or breaks an aspect of whether or not the energy is even really forming, or what kind of energy is forming between two planets. Depends on, we give it like a 10-degree leeway. It's really not even a strong conjunction until it's about within a 5-degree orb, they call it, just a little almost a radius. So ultimately, that helps me understand, based on where your natal sun is located, and I will know that by your birth date, how different planets are interacting with your natal sun, so how it may impact your life. So this is not a traditional horoscope at all. This is actually using accurate astrology instead of very inaccurate astrology. Traditional horoscopes are horrible. So let's talk about Decan 1. So if you know that your natal suns are between 0 and 10 degrees Scorpio, they're in the first decan of Scorpio, and you are Scorpio 1s. This correlates to Scorpio birthdays that are in October, pretty much October 22nd through the 31st. So we've got our Halloween babies in there, and our Libra cuspers, which would be October 22nd and October 23rd. That would be about you guys. That range does change. It toggles. The sun isn't in Scorpio at the same time, same date every year, but it's in and around those dates. For example, if you're a Scorpio but you're born on October 21st, because that's where the sun was on October 21st when you were born, this would include you as well. So we have, for you guys, a trine to Saturn, which is all year long. That's going to be up through about February of next year. So that means there's harmony or shifts or a lot of focus in really working and finding harmony in yourself when it comes to work or things you can build out in the world, and feeling really good about the way things are structured and thinking you've got the rules and regulations and laws really down pat and knowing that you can work within them. So this is a very kind of a productive based energy, and it's a great time over the next year to really do some work on your career. But this week in particular, your natal suns are going to be in a semi-square to Mercury. What does that mean? Well, it wouldn't mean that much normally, but Mercury is in its shadow period. It is slowing down, so it's going to be more intense. I would not sign any important paperwork right now. I would not try to send any important communications. This is not the best week for you to go on important interviews or auditions or give important presentations. A semi-square is usually you can overcome it just by calming yourself down and helping work through the agitation that comes from its kind of stubbornness. But because Mercury is in shadow period right now, it's going to be more intense. So you'll know why if things are breaking down or the phone isn't working right or whatever. All of those things could be coming up now this week for you, FYI. So if you have any important kind of communication exchanges or tests or anything like that, if you can put it off, I would definitely put it off till next week. But Scorpio ones, if you can't, because we can't always do that, I would have somebody else check and see that all the T's are crossed and I's are dotted. I would also slow your process down and focus it down into just the important stuff so that you're using more of your energy on less information, so it is easier for you to sort of compartmentalize and organize. Just a tip and trick. Scorpio 2s. So if you know that your natal sun is located between 10 and 19 degrees Scorpio, you are Scorpio 2s. This correlates to birthdays between November 1st and 10th, maybe 11th. Your natal suns are in a long actually there's a lot going on for you guys, so I think you're taking the big impact this week. There's a lot happening. Your natal suns are square to Venus and they're square to the sun through the 11th of this week, so almost to the end of this week. And since the sun and Venus are going to be conjunct all week, you're going to still feel it. So what does that mean, guys? Well, it means that there's a lot of distraction and overindulgence that could be happening in your life right now in terms of being distracted or getting easily distracted with overindulgence of the sense of self. This could be a very romantic period for you, but the challenge it could be, there's always a challenge in the square that could be happening, is that it's impacting your life and pushing you to the point of distraction because Venus and the sun are going to be square to Jupiter and square to Uranus and square to Jupiter. So there is this outside energy that's impacting the energy that's impacting your natal suns. So if you find that there is just tension because either all of the stuff that's happening with your personal life, your intimate partnerships, the way you feel about yourself, your beauty, your flirtatiousness, all of those things are up when Venus is conjunct the sun. But when it's square to your natal sun, it could be causing frustration and problems, usually through the point of distraction and excess now. So just something to be aware of. You do have the blessing of a sextile to Mercury this week, but remember, Mercury is slowing down. It's in its shadow period, and it is conjunct to Mars and opposite Neptune. This is a very difficult energy. That sextile could actually be something that means you have an opportunity to get ahead of somebody, or that you are privy to it and can find an easier way to convince somebody of something. So in that energy, that can actually happen, since this is a sextile to your natal sun. But it does feel still kind of manipulative, just letting you know. So there could be more proclivities toward that this week. The sextile to Mercury does imply that if simply I'm looking at it without it relating to anything else, that this is a good time to go take an important test or give an important presentation or go in for, apply for a job, go in for an interview. It means that your mind and your mouth will be working very well together, and you'll probably be able to convince anybody of anything because of all the other aspects that are happening to Mercury. Your natal suns are in opposition to Jupiter, which means there is kind of ambitiousness that's happening there, an optimistic push toward, I'm gonna move forward at all costs. And then you have a quincunx to Chiron, which could be irritation or sadness, frustration or bitterness when it comes to pain or the hardship of lessons or how difficult things have been lately, you guys are also through the 10th sextile to Mars. So this sextile to Mars, Mercury, is going to be kind of huge because you could really be, you're in a position now to convince anybody of anything. And if it's going to work to your advantage, I can't fault you for using it, right? But it's that, it's that you could be fooling yourself as well, because you could be deceived as to whether or not this is even a great opportunity. So I would definitely take a few breaths this week. I know that you want to move forward. I know that the agitation and maybe the pain is really frustrating and it's really high and you want to do something and you want to do it now. I would just make sure that you make sure that you're not arguing or, shooting arrows at the shadows, and instead you know what you're aiming at and that it's worth your attention, because your energy could be really beautiful this week if it is focused in healthy ways. Just an FYI. On the third, Scorpio 3s. If you know that your natal sun is located between 20 and 29 degrees Scorpio, you are Scorpio 3s. This correlates to Scorpio birthdays at the end of Scorpio, right up to the Sagittarius cusp. So that would be from around the 11th or 12th all the way through the 22nd of November. Cuspers would be November 21st, 22nd. And yes, if you are a November 23rd Scorpio, that would include you as well. Your natal suns are square to Venus, which means they would also be square to the sun, in not directly, but because it's in conjunction, you're going to feel this. What does that mean? Square to Venus means that first of all, this is not a good time for a haircut. This is not a good time to change any of your aesthetics. It could be a sense of, especially Venus conjunct the sun, not feeling so good about who you are or how you look, especially taking things extra personally. This could get in the way of self-esteem and insecurities. Your insecurities could be easily triggered this week. There is an opposition to Uranus, which is long term, a sextile to Pluto, and a trine to Neptune. So you guys are the ones that are really connected to this kind of very, very game-changing energy between Pluto, Neptune, and Uranus that's going to be going on for the next almost decade. So there's that sense of somehow you might be privy to it or a part of it, but ultimately a trine to Neptune and a sextile to Pluto is very spiritual energy. It's very connected with faith and progressive through faith and connecting with your psychic energy and not being afraid of the dark or to be able to take things from it and create out of nothing. So it's a very creative period for you as well. And then you have that opposition to Uranus, which is causing you to want to change things. It's disruptive. It's almost like the disruptor. So if you find yourself inventing or creating things, allow it to happen. They could be very disruptive creations. They could be very disruptive artistic presentations. Whatever they are, this is especially impacting you and how you create yourself, a desire for change. But that's long term. Right now, what you're going to feel especially is that square to Venus conjunct the sun, because that is going to challenge this week, make it challenging. There could be just more insecurities that arise or more tension that arises within your relationships, intimate relationships, especially because of how you are feeling about yourself or insecurities that your partner is dealing with. This could also be tension when it comes to spending too much money that you can't get back, or financial difficulties as well. But especially, I think, because of the conjunction to the sun, how you feel about you, how you feel about how you look. This could be a trying week, a particularly difficult week. So don't make any permanent decisions to especially your aesthetic or your beauty in general and how you feel about yourself this week, because there's going to be more tension there. Just an FYI, it will pass, and this week will pass, but just be aware when you feel those things, this will pass. This is an energy, it's not the truth. Just it's not your truth. it's how you feel right now, but it will pass. Like, don't take what's happening this week and let it define who you are. Just know, okay, I'm going through a low period. A little extra self-care might really help this week. Self-care in terms of a massage, or self-care in terms of, you know, wholesome smoothies or a healthy food. Like, this would be a time to really double down on making sure that you tell yourself, I love you in every way possible. You let me know in the comments below how this week is impacting you, Scorpio. And now come on over to Born Without Boundaries Tarot for your week ahead tarot card reading. I love you guys, and I'll see you in the videos.